And so it was, the battle for the altar of the horned rat. Beneath this old and abandoned lizardmen's city lay an infernal altar to the Skaven's horned god. It has been captured by a high elf expeditionary force to prevent the Skaven from summoning their horned god and destroying the world. Siege after siege, the Skaven came again and again against the High Elf defenders in an attempt to reclaim their altar and resume the ritual that would summon their infernal deity. In this old lizardman city, the High Elves must defend against the vermin and their monstrous creations to protect the world from certain demise. The High Elves came in with a strong army in order to conquer this region, and conquer it they did. But the Skaven came again and again, again and again. And so the battle will commence. The vermin attacked from two different locations, assaulting the walls from the east and the south. But the High Elves had their superior air force. Two moon dragons flew overhead. The Skaven brought in the first wave of the attacks, their elite storm vermin infantry, backed up by wood lightning cannons and plague claw catapults to tear down the walls of the defenders. Walls that were not structurally sound to begin with. Because of previous sieges to this settlement, the defenders and their defenses have been weakened from continuous bombardment and attrition in the siege. Elite Phoenix Guard guarded the holes in the wall, backed up by elite Elven archers, the best in the world. Northern Sea Guard made up the bulk of the garrison, experts in both melee and ranged combat, with their bows, spears and shields ready to take down any vermin that dared attack their settlements. Most elves did not deploy on top of the walls, because they knew that the vermin's artillery would tear them to shreds. Instead, they deployed beneath the wall, and when the vermin made the walls with their siege towers, the lore masters and the sword masters attacked and started killing them one after another. Of course, the artillery was a problem for the elves, and so they directed what little towers they had to start attacking. And they redirected some of their dragons to take down some as well later on. On the eastern flank, the High Elves used their superior mobility in their cavalry to take down any stray Skaven that did not board their towers to attack the walls. Like a great tide, they came out of the gates and started murdering all the Skaven they could find. What little Northern Sea Guard lay on this section of the wall would eventually become swamped with Skaven that climbed the walls on top of ladders. Waiting for the opportune moment to strike. And the cavalry did its best best it could do under the circumstances, charging the Skaven before they made it to the ladders. Of course, they came under fire from the artillery, but that did not deter them. And more Skaven came. The first wave was nearly over. All of the Skaven died, whilst the breaches in the walls were held by the Phoenix Guard, the most elite infantry the High Elves had at their disposal. Experts at holding the line, they slew scores of Skaven and their infernal machines. And dragons went on to munch a bit on some rats. Meanwhile, High Elf archers fell back, because the Skaven had infiltrated the center of the settlement and were capturing it. Should the center of the settlement fall, the walls would surely follow. The elves could not allow this. Lover and Sigurd were dispatched to engage and destroy. No Skaven would be allowed to conquer this place ever. And one of the moon dragons also helped. A majestic sight indeed. White Lions of Thrace quickly dispatched any vermin that came off this tower. With their twin-handed axes, they slew them all. Every single one of them. And so the High Elf cavalry, after charge, decimating the Skaven reinforcements, started performing rear charges in order to help the defenders hold the line. A tactic that would cost them dearly, as more Skaven came. They were unending. At least it seemed that way at the time. Silverhelm and Dragon Princess of Calidor charged relentlessly, again and again, trying to thin out their reinforcements as they came, without cease. The walls on this side were won. The Swordmasters have done their duty, and now they had to be relocated to assist in the defense of the gate and the breaches. In the meantime, the archers were in peril. The garrison on this side of the wall had all perished, and Skaven were using this breach to reinforce and attack the rear of the defenders. Defenders that would refuse to die. The elves summoned their channeling spires to help their magic, the one thing that was holding them together. And the mage, the single mage that was brought in the expedition, was doing her best to keep her friends in the fight. And more Skaven came. The cavalry was engaged in a desperate fight to thin out their numbers, but soon they were dying. Only a handful remained. And the dragons were, well, they have seen better days. More of them. And more of them. Soon, the Skaven saw that their initial waves had not delivered on the success that their numbers advertised, and the High Elves were holding stubbornly, not wanting to surrender, knowing that surrender would bring doom to the world. So they sent hordes upon hordes for the final wave of rat ogres. Freakish mutations, abominations. Death Globe bombardiers would also assist in this endeavor. Their anti-infantry grenades would be of much use against the defenders. The Phoenix Guard were being spent. The Dragon Princes of Calidor were engaged in pitched battle, and they had to withdraw from the reach of the walls, and yet the White Lions of Thrace held their ground. And then the Rat Ogres engaged. The Elves did not show fear. They did not show terror. They rose to the occasion and they fought back the vermin. And more rat ogres came, and more vermin came streaming in.
Orders understood. I will.
Numberless. The High Elf dragons could not be killed by mere Skaven slave spears, and so they went on to do their job. But their slings were a complete annoyance to the defenders. The breaches in the wall would not be broken. The defenders would not be broken. And the frame rate would be broken. Seeing that the walls have mostly been secured by quite literally killing every single small Skaven and only rat ogres remained, High Elf archers found this opportunity to get back on the walls and rain death on the vermin. And the High Elves used their magics once again to help turn the tide. Finally, the vermin were broken, shattered and running away for their lives. Cowards. What little cavalry remained on the field was attempting to run down most of them, but the vermin was so afraid that it would be quite challenging to catch them. Of course, some of them thought, maybe we can break this. But seeing their most elites die and run away in fear from the majestic High Elf moon dragons, cavalry rear charges, and the unbreakable resolve of the High Elf infantry, victory on the field was achieved. The world is saved. But what cost? So how'd you like that? That was awesome, wasn't it? It was the best fight I had in my High Elf campaign, a High Elf campaign that I enjoyed from start to finish. So, couple things. One, the Skaven, I was not kidding when I was narrating the end of the world. The Altar of the Horned Rat was a settlement, well, is a settlement on the coast of Lustria that produces warpstone for the Skaven, and it was also a ritual city that needed to be captured in order to prevent the Clan Pestilence that was performing the ritual. It was Clan Pestilence that was performing the ritual because it confederated with Clan Moors. And I needed to capture that to stop their fourth ritual. And at that point, in my campaign, I was pretty sure that the Skaven had a lot of warpstone, so much so that they would have enough warpstone to start the fifth ritual and, well, lose me the game, which would not be good. So I assembled this little army, and just attacked the Altar of the Horned Rat and captured it from the Skaven. At that point, so that you're aware, the Skaven were ranked 1 in the strength bar, and for good reason. As you can see, they have quite a lot of armies. Yeah, Lord Skrok was in there too. He was eaten by a dragon at some point. I couldn't catch that. There was so much going on in this battle, I'm sorry. So, yeah, I defended once. The Skaven came at me, I think, 3 times. No, at the end of the campaign it was 4. One, it was a pretty small fight. Not a lot actually happened there. I mean, I built quite a lot of defenses, and coupled with the fact that it is a major capital, a provincial capital, sorry, the Altar of the Horned Rat, well then, I had a pretty decent garrison. So they came at me once, they came at me twice. The second time they came at me with these huge numbers, but my garrison was on full strength. My walls were completely intact, and I was quite confident in my troops' ability to hold the line, and which they did, handily. And this is the third time they came at me, and it was, I think after I beat them back, they instantly sieged me, like instantly, so that my replenishment would be completely screwed. And so I had to fight that was like 4 stacks, that's a lot. I could have sworn there was 6, but I mean, I lost count at some point, right? So yeah, my walls were breached, as you saw. It was god-awful. I couldn't just put my Phoenix Guard behind a wall and be like, come at me, bro. And this time, well, the first time when they came at me, their artillery was deployed as reinforcements. They hadn't deployed correctly. Well, they had deployed a single Plague Claw, and my dragons, they were like, hey, look, munching time, so they went straight at that. This time that was not the case, which actually forced me to not deploy all of my archers on the walls, which kind of sucked. And as you can see, this archer just did jack. All of these Lothern Seaguard, though, they were impressive. So, this was unscripted. I was talking out of my ass as I was speaking. I was quite literally making shit up, honestly. I'm thinking, that was so cool. I'm thinking that I might do this again and actually script it. Of course, I will have to wait for some other epic battle for the campaigns to give me. But, I don't know, I had a feeling that I was just... The Dark Elf campaign is nice, but I think I need to spice things up a bit, and I will. And I think that this might be a cool way to do it. Of course, the frame rate didn't help me there, but hey. I mean, that's over, what? That's 4, 5, 5.5, more than 5,500. Wait, no. 5,000, more than 5,500 Skaven. That's not counting my high elves and the fact that this is a siege battle. Yeah, the frame rate could be better. Anyway, I hope you lot, you know what? I'm actually going to share this. Yes, Bill, you heard me right. I'm actually going to share this somewhere. Like, and just ask for the people's opinion, see what's up. I will actually see if I can improve on this. My narration, mostly. I was just eating words there. Anyway, I'll catch you. See ya. Peace out.